I think I hate this game. Oh, I didn't simulate Carlos.
Holy Antikythera mechanism.
I don't know about you, but I seem to have an unhealthy obsession with buying a bunch of game bundles filled with games I haven't heard of, and they always end up in the ever-ending corners of my library. I like to try games and genres you may not have heard of and perhaps give you a reason to try them, or show you why you shouldn't. So far, I've really enjoyed doing these as I have found some games that I've really liked. So to continue making a dent in the ever-increasing backlog, let's see what I end up with this time. First up, a rather interesting retro-style shooter mixed with some colour match puzzling and bullet hell. Here we've got Superstar Path. I went into this one blind and was really surprised by what I got. From the initial look, it kinda seemed like a mobile gem puzzle game to me. You start by shooting the different alien types, which can help open the paths as you fly along the vertical puzzle maze trying to break through. Or in my case, you don't understand quite what's going on and end up dying quite a bit. Wait, oh, wait.
Mission failed.
Okay, so I get one. Okay, good, I got the 0. Okay, this is going great. Wait, no!
Mission failed.
Yeah. No.
Mission failed.
I think I hate this game. I was seriously ready to hate and rage drop this game about 20 minutes in after constantly dying and not really understanding it. But then, after it clicked for me what the game was going for, I ended up getting quite into it. It was an odd but interesting mix of the genres with the slight puzzle elements. It certainly resulted in a lot of runs ending from getting stuck and having nowhere to go. But after beating the puzzle shooter section of each stage, you got to the boss where the genre switches to the bullet hell. These were fairly good fun with a decent amount of challenge to them, but if you did lose you did have to go back through the puzzle section all over again. I did enjoy the boss fights, but I do think the limited area did restrict how different each one of them could be, so the variation between them was fairly minimal, and I do wish that this could have been expanded upon a little bit more. I will warn you, however, with the last boss. Man, did that thing blue ball me. If you hadn't got all of the emeralds in every level, you can beat the boss and still lose. I'll admit, it just felt pretty unfun to lose at that point when I died to it and I almost did it. And I did almost consider just not trying it again. Personally, I kind of wouldn't recommend it as a game feature, but I do see what they were going for.
Mission accomplished.
Overall, it was a pretty short game. Even for someone like me that wasn't too great at it, I ended up finishing the main game in just under 2 hours. I'd say the puzzle aspect takes quite a step back compared to the other mechanics of the game, so I didn't really figure out which of the aliens I should actually be shooting, and I would just shoot any and just make sure that my placement was good. So if you're wanting a more puzzle focused game, I'd say it's not got much there for you. But if you are a fan of old style space shooters or bullet hell genre, it was a surprisingly enjoyable game once you got your head around it. And for that, I'd certainly give it a gem rating, as it certainly was not something I would have picked up on my own, but once I tried it, I really enjoyed what I got out of it. Next up we have Verne, The Shape of Fantasy, a puzzle-solving, narrative-driven adventure game. The ship design alone was what immediately caught my eye and lured me into wanting to see more. You play as the famous French writer Jules Verne with a fantasy world based around his literature, and it's really brought to life by the beautiful pixel art. The general concept of the game is about going through the story as Verne, interacting with the characters, learning more about them and the goings-on in the built-up world around you, all while you uncover the mysteries within and watch as the fantastical story unfolds. There was voice acting all throughout the game, which was really nice to have in such a narrative-focused setting.
Mon Dieu!
But it could be a little hit and miss, and some characters just sounded a little robotic at times, with little emotion to the context of the scene happening.
At first I was paralyzed. I was unable to help anyone.
But it was a really nice feature overall to have, given how story-focused the game is. It really helped bring you into the world.
Verne, I will find you!
The gameplay itself is where I think this game was lacking the most. There are puzzles to do, but they really aren't all that hard or engaging, and the one cool mechanic of the game ended up being quite the letdown. You get a torch quite early on in the game that can reverse time, which in theory sounds really cool and could be a really fun item to have, as there were some different options to choose from when using it. But it felt like this could have been a much more used item in the game and could have had a lot more depth added to the mechanics of it. I think it was only used a handful of times throughout the game and felt a little lackluster given its potential to make puzzles and scenarios more interactive. I think in general a lot of people would end up finding the pacing of this game a little too slow. It felt a little tedious to me just running back and forth between things, and I think I'd have been happier for it to be a little tighter in that regard given how story focused the game is. Also, a big quality of life improvement for me in the game would be that if you click on something that requires an object to use, open the objects page instead of playing a non-skippable audio clip every time. It started to drive me crazy by the end of it.
I need something that can help me.
Oh my god, please Verne. I think I really wanted to like this game a lot due to its art style and initial feel, but it just felt like it fell short on its potential for what it could have been if the mechanics had been fleshed out a bit more and the gameplay had not taken such a backseat. It's certainly a gem for the eye, but it's definitely not for me. And for that, it gets a rating to leave it in the bundle pile.
Holy Antikythera mechanism.
Instead of the standard humans fighting to defend against the invading aliens, this time we get to switch it up as we play as the aliens defending against the capitalistic greed of the humans. Here we have Attack of the Earthlings, a turn-based strategy game with a sprinkle of dark humour. You play as the alien race, the Swarmers, as you make your way up the planet-cracking drill of the invading corporation. You get to sneak, slash and eat your way to victory as you go about taking down the greedy invaders. The gameplay is turn-based, working your way through the levels to complete the different objectives per stage. You start with just your matriarch and build out your swarm with different types as you progress to help get past the different enemies ahead. These alien types span from hard-hitting brutes and ranged crawlers, and one fun ability you get is to take over the civilians' minds to use as a scout, and no one will be able to tell the difference, not even with a large alien attached to their head. I liked the humour as I played through the game, often poking fun at the capitalistic greed side of things, which I certainly think made some of the playthrough much more enjoyable.
Can we double up security to repair teams C and D, please? Just, make sure they're working extra hard. On an unrelated note, standard galactoil health insurance no longer covers the following: animal bites, maulings, partial devourment, and eczema.
The gameplay, however, even within the short period of time I ended up playing with it, felt a little too slow and repetitive to be super engaging for me. Each mission felt like it just went on for a bit too long, doing the same tasks multiple times. An example of this is on the second mission you have to take down 4 repair teams. Each team felt like it took about 15 minutes to take down, and it really did feel like they was just doing the same things each time. I think it being a turn-based game did make things feel quite a bit slower, and a nice quality of life improvement for it I think would be to allow actions to happen while other units are moving. I can understand why it might not currently do this, as it may need to account for if something happens when the units move, but it did make each turn feel that bit longer than needed when trying to move multiple units around. The stages themselves felt like they really could have done with some cutting down, as there were a limited amount of enemy types and objectives, and I'd have really loved to have seen this be more condensed down into tighter missions flowing with the well-placed humour. I ended up only playing this one for a few hours, as although I was enjoying the humour and the look of it, it did just feel a bit too repetitive and slow to keep me engaged or wanting to go back for more. So I think this quirky alien game gets a rating of staying in the bundle. There we have another 3 games checked out from the backlog of my bundle purchasing obsession. And although I may not have been into 2 of the games, finding another gem I likely wouldn't have played if not for this series was certainly worth it for me. So with that, if you yourself have a similar backlog or collection of games you've never heard of or think may not be for you, why not try booting them up for an hour and see what you think? You never know what treasures you may find.